Remember, all of you should try your best to enter together. That way, when you arrive at the Dongming ancient battlefield, you will have a higher chance of being teleported to a close distance. Lu Xiao instructed. Everyone nodded, and the group of 98 people rushed toward the vortex. As soon as they rushed into the vortex, they felt the sky and earth spinning. Lu Ming and the others disappeared without a trace. Kill! Kill! Lu Ming began to feel the sky and earth spinning. In the next moment, earth-shattering shouts rang in his ears. Lu Ming's eyes swept over, and his pupils rapidly shrank in shock. In front of him, countless figures were crisscrossing in the sky. The smell of blood permeated the air. There was a fierce battle going on here. Boom! Large hands blotted out the sky. Sword chi cut through the sky. Spear light pierced through heaven and earth. Flames burned everything. Strong, too strong. Countless experts that Lu Ming could not imagine were fighting. The entire world was torn apart. Incomparably powerful experts were killed one after another. Their corpses fell to the ground like dumplings. What's going on? Where is this? Lu Ming was shocked. Whoosh! Suddenly a sword light slashed toward Lu Ming. This sword light seemed to come from the depths of the universe. Space was torn apart. It was boundlessly terrifying. Lu Ming's strength was insignificant in front of this sword light. Ah! Lu Ming let out a long cry. He was unwilling to be killed just like that. He wanted to resist with all his might. Boom! He felt his vision turn black. In the next moment he opened his eyes. There was a gentle breeze, and the fragrance of flowers assailed his nostrils. Lu Ming realized that he was standing on a grassland. The grassland was filled with wild flowers. The terrifying battlefield just now had disappeared without a trace. Could it be that everything just now was an illusion? This place is called the Dongming ancient battlefield. Perhaps it's just a reflection of the real scene back then. Lu Ming guessed. Perhaps everyone who had just entered would have seen the scene just now. It was condensed from an immortal battle intent. It flowed between heaven and earth, and even time couldn't decay it. This ancient battlefield is probably not simple. According to the records, the Dongming ancient battlefield is just a corner of another ancient battlefield. It was separated from the original world, and was condensed by the experts of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Lu Ming pondered. At this moment his expression changed. A 10,000 miles voice transmission talisman appeared in his hand. There was a message from Jian Fengyun. He had gathered the people of the Cloud Emperor mountain range at a place. It's in the north. If I can receive the 10,000 miles voice transmission talisman, it means that it's within 10,000 miles. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He intended to act alone. Young Master Tianxi exuded a terrifying aura. He was much stronger than Blue Cloud Dao and the rest. Young Master Tianxi was ranked second on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard, and could compete with Jian Fengyun. He was definitely not someone Blue Cloud Dao could compare to. His combat strength was terrifying. Lu Ming was probably not his match now. However, Lu Ming was fearless. Even if he was not his match, it was impossible for young Master Tianxi to kill him. Everyone, this Lu Ming is a scourge. Leaving him alive will only cause our deaths. Why don't we attack together and kill him? At this time, Blue Cloud Dao shouted to the others in the Cloud Emperor mountain range. The others' eyes flickered. That's right. I agree with Brother Lan. Someone stood out and looked at Lu Ming with murderous intent. I agree too. More than 10 people stood out one after another. Together with young Master Tianxi and Blue Cloud Dao, they formed a powerful force and pressed down on Lu Ming. Among them there was a genius like Ji Ruffing who was ranked 7th on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. However, there were also some people who stood still. Haha, Lu Ming, you have become the public enemy. Surrender now. Blue Cloud Dao sneered. Do you think you can kill me with just the likes of you? Lu Ming Dao sneered. He was not afraid at all. Everyone. At this time Jian Fengyun walked out and frowned. The incident at Xinjiang Water Region has nothing to do with Lu Ming. Xinjiang Water Region has always looked down on us. Even without Lu Ming, I'm afraid they will not show mercy to us. Why? Jian Fengyun, are you going to protect Lu Ming? Young Master Tianxi asked. I'm not protecting anyone. I'm just speaking the truth. Jian Fengyun Dao frowned even more. Jian Fengyun, if you want to protect Lu Ming, then there is no way for us to work together. Let's leave. Young Master Tianxi said coldly. At this time Lu Ming Dao sneered. His gaze swept over young Master Tianxi, Blue Cloud Dao, and the others. Murderous intent flickered in his eyes as he said, "Didn't you want me to leave? I'll leave, but the next time we meet, I will kill all of you." Today Lu Ming Dao wanted to kill Blue Cloud Dao, Yang Liuji, and the others in one fell swoop to eliminate future troubles. However, with young Master Tianxi's interference, it would be difficult. Moreover, Lu Ming Dao estimated that Jian Fengyun Dao would intervene if a battle were to break out. Jian Fengyun Dao would not be biased, but with his interference it would be impossible to kill Blue Cloud Dao and the others. Since that was the case, it would be better for him to leave first and raise his cultivation and battle strength. The next time, he would kill Blue Cloud Dao and young Master Tianxi. There's also Cho Changkong. Lu Ming Dao swept his gaze around, but he did not see Cho Changkong's figure. It seemed like Cho Changkong did not teleport nearby. Next time, you're the one who will die, young Master Tianxi sneered. He also wanted to kill Lu Ming Dao, but with Jian Fengyun Dao's interference, he knew that it was impossible. Is that so? Lu Ming Dao sneered and his figure flashed as he quickly left the place. Seeing Lu Ming Dao leave, young Master Tianxi, Blue Cloud Dao, and the others sneered. The night in the Dongming ancient battlefield is extremely dangerous. Lu Ming Dao, let's see how you're going to survive alone. You still want to have a next time? Dream on. Blue Cloud Dao laughed loudly in his heart. Swoosh! Lu Ming Dao soared into the sky and was already 10,000 miles away in a short moment. I must find a way to raise my strength as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'm afraid it will be difficult to achieve anything in the Dongming ancient battlefield, where geniuses are as common as clouds. Lu Ming Dao pondered. This area was full of life, unlike the desolate and deathly silent battlefield that he had imagined. It seemed that after a long time, this land had recovered its vitality. From time to time he could see groups of demonic beasts. However, these demonic beasts were not of high levels, so Lu Ming Dao had no interest in hunting them. Also, it's best to find an ancient city before nightfall. Otherwise it will be very dangerous. Lu Ming Dao frowned. 2 days ago, he had also studied the records of the Dongming ancient battlefield. According to the records, the Dongming ancient battlefield would become very strange and dangerous at night. Lu Ming Dao continued to fly forward. Soon, a vast mountain appeared in front of him. Ancient trees towered over the vast mountain, and the roars of beasts were continuous. Lu Ming Dao did not stop and flew over the mountain. Caw! Before he could fly far, a sharp cry rang out. A huge strange bird rushed out from the forest, flapping its wings and creating gusts of wind. A pair of sharp iron claws grabbed at Lu Ming Dao. A Class 7 4th level demonic beast. With a flicker, he landed on a large tree and observed his surroundings. Suddenly, a series of strange cries rang out in the distance. The cries seemed to be coming closer and closer, as if they were rushing towards Lu Ming. The cries grew louder and noisier. It didn't seem to be coming from one thing but from many things. But in the next moment, those voices suddenly disappeared without a trace. Where did you go? Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Huff huff, a gust of cold wind blew past Lu Ming's neck. Not good. Without thinking, Lu Ming soared into the sky. Chi! A cold and sharp force swept past Lu Ming's body and hit the big tree that Lu Ming had just landed on. The big tree was directly cut in two and fell to the ground. The strange cries rang out again. At the same time, a cold and sharp force attacked Lu Ming. What the hell is this? Die for me! Lu Ming swept out with his long spear. But Lu Ming felt that the long spear swept out, as if it was sweeping the air, and there was no place to exert force. In the next moment, a cold force attacked from behind Lu Ming. Swish! In an instant, Lu Ming's body soared into the sky. Looking down from the sky, Lu Ming finally saw what attacked him. 7 or 8 black shadows in human form. Their facial features couldn't be seen clearly. They were drifting in the air at an extremely fast speed. These damn things can't be real ghosts, can they? Lu Ming was shocked. He felt that it was very possible. This was an ancient battlefield. Countless creatures had died in the past. Blood flowed like rivers and resentment filled the sky. It was possible for ghosts and evil creatures like ghosts to be born. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Lu Ming stomped down. Buzz. An inexplicable vibration spread out. A terrifying force erupted from Lu Ming's feet. Vaguely, there was even the sound of a dragon's roar. If those black ghosts seemed to be very frightened. They let out ear-piercing and unpleasant cries. But under the 9 dragons stomping the sky steps, they instantly turned into ashes and dissipated. It seems that the 9 dragons stomping the sky steps has a miraculous effect on these damn things. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It made sense. Dragons were powerful creatures that stood at the peak of all things in the world. They were sacred and could not be offended. Not to mention the 9 dragons that were stronger than ordinary true dragons. The 9 dragons stomping the sky steps was named after the 9 dragons stomping the sky. It naturally contained the will of the 9 dragons. With one step, the evil spirits retreated and the ghosts dissipated. JJ. But these black ghosts were defeated. The ear-piercing cries came from afar again. More spirits were charging towards them. Let's get out of here first. Lu Ming took a step forward and quickly flew into the distance. In the pitch-black world, the strange cries continued. Lu Ming looked around. There were black shadows flying everywhere. It was like a group of demons dancing. Chi-chi. A few spirits flew toward Lu Ming, emitting beams of cold and sinister energy. Boom! Lu Ming swept out with his spear. 100-meter-long spear light shattered the cold forces and scattered the ghosts at the same time. But in the next moment, those ghosts gathered together again. However, they seem to have become smaller. It's not completely ineffective. Using force to attack still has some effect. It's just that the effect is not as good. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Swish. Swish. Then he swept out 2 more times. The thick spear light blasted out, containing the powerful force of wind and fire. The ghosts were scattered again. When they gathered again, they were much smaller. Lu Ming did not stop and rushed past. There were more ghosts blocking his way. Lu Ming scattered them in the same way. This was all thanks to Lu Ming's fusion of wind and fire. If it was just one force, even if it was perfect, it would not have such an effect. As for the 9 dragons stomping the sky steps, although the effect was good, it consumed too much energy. Lu Ming would not use it unless it was necessary. Just like that, Lu Ming rushed forward. But after 100 miles, Lu Ming suddenly stopped and looked ahead in shock. Kacha. In front of him there was actually a group of soldiers in iron armor. However, the iron armor on each soldier was tattered and full of saber and sword marks. It was full of the aura of time. Every soldier held a large black iron sword in their hands, and they were filled with fighting spirit. But the terrifying thing was that it was impossible to see the faces of each soldier. At a glance it was a black fog. In the place where their eyes were, there were 2 scarlet lights. Are these the legendary ghost soldiers? Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. The group of ghost soldiers walked forward step by step and disappeared into the darkness. No one knew where they were going. This ancient battlefield is indeed evil and terrifying. No wonder it is said to be extremely dangerous at night. Chapter 380. Alright. Lu Ming nodded. He also wanted to find a city to stay in. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the mood to cultivate at night. Song Yu and Song Jing were overjoyed to see Lu Ming agree. Immediately, the 3 of them continued along the mountain range. Tens of thousands of miles passed in a flash. After tens of thousands of miles, they finally walked out of the forest. After the forest, there was a plain. The 3 of them flew for a few more hours. Finally, a small city appeared in front of them. The 3 of them were overjoyed and hurriedly flew over. The city wasn't big, only a few miles in radius. There are people on the city wall. Song Jing whispered. Lu Ming and the others also saw it. It seemed that someone had arrived at the city earlier. There were about a dozen people standing on the city wall. Outside the city, there were 1 or 2 people who seemed to be talking to the people on the city wall. However, they were too far away to hear clearly. The 3 of them flew directly toward the city. Swoosh! Swoosh! However, when the 3 of them approached the city, several sharp sword qis shot towards the 3 of them. The 3 of their expressions changed. They stopped abruptly and avoided the sword qi. Their expressions were ugly as they stared at the city wall. The sword chi just now came from the city wall. What are you doing? Why are you stopping us from entering the city? Song Yu shouted. Hehe, you can enter the city if you pay 10 million spirit crystals each. A young man on the city wall sneered. This young man was dressed in a black robe with a skull embroidered on it. In fact, the other dozen young men on the city wall were dressed in the same way. They wore black robes with skeletons on them and were obviously from the same force. 10 million spirit crystals? You're clearly taking advantage of the situation. Song Yu shouted. Robbery? Don't make it sound so bad. This is called a refuge fee. You can take refuge in the city after paying the spirit crystals. The black-robed skeleton-like man smiled faintly. Why? This city is a public place. Why should we pay you a refuge fee? Below the city wall, there were two other young men who had arrived earlier than Lu Ming and the others. They shouted at this moment. Why? Because we're stronger and we're disciples of the Serene Demon Palace. Hurry up and pay. If you don't pay, get lost. If you don't, you'll end up like that. The black-robed young man shouted coldly as he pointed a finger into the distance. Everyone looked over and saw several corpses. They were all youths. Those who paid the spiritual crystals have all gone in to rest. Those who didn't pay the spiritual crystals and tried to force their way in will end up like them. The black-robed skeleton shouted coldly. The faces of the two young men, Song Yu and Song Jing, were extremely ugly. The disciples of the Serene Devil Palace were too overbearing. Moreover, the dozen or so Serene Devil Palace disciples all exuded powerful auras. There were 13 people in total, and 6 of them were emitting auras of the peak 5th layer martial ancestor realm. The other 7 were all 6th layer martial ancestor realm experts. 2 of them even emitted peak 6th layer martial ancestor realm auras. Those who could enter the Dark East ancient battlefield were all geniuses. At the very least, they could fight opponents 2 levels above them. Some could even exceed 2 levels. This was an extremely powerful force. Even the weakest of them could be ranked on the Cloud Emperor ranking list in the 36 countries of Emperor Yun. The 2 strongest youths were at the peak of the 6th layer martial ancestor realm. They were definitely not weaker than Blue Cloud. As for Song Yu and Song Jing, they were only at the early stage of the 5th layer martial ancestor realm. The other 2 youths were only at the late stage of the 5th layer martial ancestor realm. The difference was too great. At this moment, should they retreat or advance? If they retreated, they would have to face countless spirits at night. There might even be other eerie things. Death was the only way out. However, if they were to advance, they would have to pay 10 million spiritual crystals each. 10 million spiritual crystals was a huge sum even for genius martial ancestor realm experts like them. Although they could afford it, it would hurt them greatly. We'll pay. The other 2 youths hesitated for a moment before they finally made up their minds. They gritted their teeth and each took out a storage ring and handed it to the black-robed skeleton. The black-robed skeleton checked the storage ring and said with a satisfied smile, "At least you know what's good for you. Go in." The 2 youths flew into the city with ugly expressions. "We'll pay too," Song Yu said with a sigh. "Pay. I've never had the habit of giving spiritual crystals to others for free." At this moment, Lu Ming smiled faintly. His words naturally reached the black-robed skeleton's ears. The black-robed skeleton who had been talking previously looked coldly at Lu Ming and said, "Brat, if you're not going to pay, get lost. Don't be an eyesore here. Otherwise, I don't mind getting rid of you." He could see the cultivation levels of Song Yu, Song Jing, and Lu Ming. They were all trash in the early stage of martial ancestor realm and he did not take them seriously. Get lost? You're the ones who should get lost. Now get lost. I want this city. Lu Ming shouted. Everyone was dumbfounded. What did Lu Ming just say? He wanted the people from the Serene Demon Palace to get lost? He wanted to take over the city? Crazy. This brat must be crazy. Even Song Yu and Song Jing were shocked. What was Lu Ming doing? Was he going to fight the people from the Serene Demon Palace? It was impossible for him to win. With a single step, more than a dozen geniuses from the Serene Demon Palace were either killed or injured. Even the 2 peak 6th layer martial ancestor realm geniuses spat out mouthfuls of blood. Most importantly, Lu Ming was only in the early stage of the 5th stage of the martial ancestor realm. How was that possible? How many battles did he have? How could there be such an expert in this world? Damn it! Damn it! Let's go! Let's go! He's a peerless monster. Let's leave first and wait for senior brother Yu and the others to return before we kill him. The black-robed skeleton roared. He was scared out of his wits. You want to leave now? Too late. Lu Ming sneered and took another step forward. 9 dragons in the sky. Bang! The heavens and earth shook violently. The severely injured disciples of the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm of the Serene Demon Palace let out cries of agony as their bodies could no longer withstand the force and exploded. Even the 2-peak 6th-layer martial ancestor realm geniuses felt as if their bodies had been hit by a 10,000-meter-tall mountain. Their bodies emitted cracking sounds as they spat out mouthfuls of blood. Both of them were peerless geniuses who had slightly surpassed the level of the Second World War geniuses. Their combat strength had barely reached the early stage of the 9th-layer martial ancestor realm, which was why they were still alive after receiving 2 kicks. Run, run, run! The 2 of them screamed in their hearts as they were terrified to the extreme. They turned into 2 rays of light and fled in all directions. Die! Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he waved his hand forcefully. 2 spear glows were fired and instantly pierced through the air toward the 2. Slash! One of them had his heart penetrated by the spear glows, causing him to let out a furious roar as his body fell to the ground. As for the black-robed skeleton, his reaction was slightly faster and he managed to avoid being hit in a vital spot. However, one of his arms was pierced by the spear glows and exploded. Bastard, the Serene Demon Palace will not let you off. Next time I will tear you into pieces. A voice that was filled with hatred rang out from afar. In an instant, the black-robed skeleton disappeared. Trying to escape? Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly as he took another step forward. Lu Ming's body disappeared in an instant. He left behind a dumbfounded crowd. Lu Ming executed the 9 dragon sky-stomping steps. With one step, he covered a distance of 10 miles. When Lu Ming appeared 10 miles away, he frowned. The aura of the youth from the Serene Demon Palace had suddenly disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming scanned the area but did not find any trace of him. It seems that the other party has cultivated some kind of skill, or some kind of treasure that can conceal his aura and hide his tracks. Lu Ming searched for a while but still could not find any trace of him. Chapter 382. Although it was dangerous outside at night, if they stayed here, they would definitely be killed when the people from the Netherworld Demon Palace returned. It was better to leave early. Brother Song, what do you guys plan to do? Lu Ming looked at Song Yu and Song Jing. If we leave the city at night, we will be in danger. I believe in Brother Lu. Song Yu said firmly, intending to stay here first. Song Jing nodded and followed Song Yu. Alright, then you guys should rest first. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He casually found a room in the city and sat down cross-legged. Recently, his comprehension of the Heaven Path Palm had been getting deeper and deeper. He felt that he could break through at any time. Once the Heaven Path Palm broke through, he would have another trump card. In his mind, the aura that he remembered from the Gate of Heaven kept circulating. For some reason, as time passed, the aura became fainter and fainter. Lu Ming reckoned that it wouldn't be long before he forgot about that aura. Yes, he would forget about it. It would disappear from his memory. Therefore, he had to master the Heaven Path Palm within this period of time. Lu Ming closed his eyes and continued to comprehend. The aura of the Gate of Heaven and the Heaven Path Palm kept verifying each other. Lu Ming's comprehension of the Heaven Path Palm was getting deeper and deeper. He felt that there was only a layer of paper between them. As long as he could pierce through this layer, Lu Ming would be able to successfully master the Heaven Path Palm. Time passed and slowly night fell. Heaven and earth fell into darkness again. Dark clouds covered the sky. Outside, strange cries were incessant. It was abnormally terrifying. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and walked out of the room. Looking into the distance, he could see many black shadows flickering outside the city. However, the city emitted a layer of hazy light. It was like a semicircle that enveloped the entire city. Those spirits seemed to be very afraid of this light. They wandered outside and didn't dare to charge in. This light was formed by the inscription Great Array. The peerless experts of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace had inscribed great arrays on all the cities in the Dongming ancient battlefield so that the selection could be carried out smoothly. Lu Ming saw that other than Song Yu and Song Jing, there were a few other people in the city who hadn't left, including the burly young man who had returned. When he saw Lu Ming, he smiled brightly. After watching for a while, Lu Ming returned to his room and started comprehending the heaven's path palm. Soon a day passed. On the second night, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly flashed. His comprehension of the heavenly Dao palm finally had a major breakthrough. He felt that he had succeeded in comprehending it. I'll go out and test it during the day. One of them had an arm chopped off by a youth from the Serene Devil Palace. He was the one who had screamed earlier. Tell me, where did that little bastard go? The youth who had escaped 2 days ago stared at Song Yu and the others coldly like a malicious spirit. I really don't know. He was still here in the morning and then he left. I beg you, let me go. The youth who had his arm chopped off screamed in agony. Let you go? You were there in the battle 2 days ago. Since you were there, why didn't you help us kill that bastard? You saw it. Not helping is a crime punishable by death. Die. The Serene Devil Palace disciple who had escaped had a cold expression on his face. With a swing of his sword, the youth's head flew high into the air. Song Yu, Song Jing, and the others were as pale as paper. The two of you are in cahoots with that bastard. Don't worry, the two of you won't die so easily. I'll let the two of you taste the greatest pain in the world before letting you die. The Serene Devil Palace disciple said coldly. The other 7 disciples of the Serene Devil Palace looked on coldly from the side. Their gazes were extremely cold. Both Song Yu and Song Jing were trembling in fear. Haha, are you afraid? If you're afraid, quickly think of a way to call that little bastard back. The Serene Devil Palace disciple laughed maniacally. No need to call, I'm here. Suddenly, a cold voice came from the sky. Everyone quickly looked up. In the sky, Lu Ming stood there and looked down. His expression was very cold and his eyes were extremely cold. He didn't expect that the Serene Devil Palace's people would arrive so soon after he went out to cultivate. Little bastard, you're finally back. The power of the slash was significantly stronger than the previous one, which had achieved the strength of the late-stage 9th layer martial ancestor realm. 9 dragons stomping the heavens. Lu Ming took a step forward. Heaven and earth rumbled as a terrifying power surged forward. Boom! Once again, a terrifying roar resounded in the sky. Shockwaves swept across and sand and pebbles flew everywhere. Bang! 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 A figure flew back and took 3 consecutive steps in the air, causing the air to explode and emit a violent rumble. It was the green-haired youth. On the other side, Lu Ming's body swayed slightly. He took a step back and steadied himself. It was obvious that Lu Ming was stronger than him. The green-robed youth's face instantly turned greener than his hair. His eyes were filled with disbelief as he uttered a roar. How is this possible? A mere early-stage 5th layer martial ancestor realm cultivator is able to resist my killing blow. How is this possible? He could not accept it. If a mere early-stage 5th layer martial ancestor realm cultivator was able to fight against him, wouldn't that mean that Lu Ming had surpassed the strength of a 4th layer genius, and was between a 4th layer genius and a 5th layer genius? That was too shocking. Not to mention being between a 4th layer genius and a 5th layer genius, there was not even a 4th layer genius in the Serene Demon Palace. Who was this kid? Where did he come from? Junior brother, let's attack together and kill this guy. Since we're already enemies, the more talented he is, the more we should kill him. With a flicker, a bulky youth appeared beside the green-haired youth. The youth was the other 7th layer martial ancestor realm genius. Great, let's attack together. Set up the Serene Demon 7 slaughter formation and kill this guy. The green-haired youth gave the order. Shush! Shush! With a flicker, the other Serene Demon Palace disciples in the city below appeared behind the green-haired youth and the bulky youth. There were 7 of them in total, and they stood in a strange formation. As for the fleeing Serene Demon Palace disciple, he stood aside with a cold smile and stared at Lu Ming with murderous intent. Is it a joint attack formation? Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. As for Songyu, Songjing and the rest, they looked at the sky anxiously. Now they could only wait and hope for a miracle. Kill! Kill! Suddenly 7 voices that were filled with murderous intent rang out. Then the 7 serene demon palace disciples moved. The 7 of them flashed in a strange trajectory and turned into countless light shadows, surrounding Lu Ming in the middle. Chi. Suddenly, 7 rays of sword chi shot toward Lu Ming from 7 different directions. Lu Ming's body flashed and he avoided 6 rays of sword chi. However, there was one ray that he could not avoid. Shush! The long spear lashed out, containing the power of wind and fire. Boom! Lu Ming's body trembled and he could not help but retreat. The power of this sword was even stronger than the green-haired youth's second attack. Lu Ming did not use the 9 dragons' heaven ascending steps, and was instantly at a disadvantage. Shush! Shush! While Lu Ming was retreating, a few more sword auras slashed toward Lu Ming's back violently. Every step was filled with murderous intent, and there was no way to avoid it. 9 dragons' heaven ascending steps. Lu Ming roared and a dragon's roar rang out. Shush! Lu Ming's body turned into a ray of light and disappeared in a flash. Not only did he avoid the rays of sword chi behind him, but he also left the Serene Demon Palace's formation and appeared in the sky not far away. How is this possible? What kind of movement technique is that? The Serene Demon Palace disciples widened their eyes in shock and disbelief. Their formation was a famous formation of the Serene Demon Palace. When the 7 of them worked together, their combat strength increased exponentially. Furthermore, those who were trapped would not be able to escape and could only be killed. With the strength of the 7 of them, even a peak martial ancestor realm 9 martial artists would be killed if they worked together. Only a half-step king could escape. However, Lu Ming was only at the early martial ancestor realm 5. How is this possible? This formation is indeed amazing. Alright, I've seen it. I won't play with you anymore. Lu Ming said indifferently. This caused the crowd to be stunned. Lu Ming had purposely allowed himself to be surrounded by the formation. He wanted to see the power of the formation. Big brother, aren't you being too childish? Songyu and the others wanted to scream. However, the Serene Demon Palace disciples' faces were extremely gloomy. You won't play with us? What big words. Let me tell you, even if you leave today, your friends will end up in an incomparably miserable state because of you. The green-haired youth glanced at Songyu and the others below and said with a ferocious expression. With Lu Ming's movement technique, they would not be able to stop him if he wanted to leave. However, Songyu and the others could not leave. Brother Lu, don't worry about us. Leave quickly. Songyu shouted again. Chapter 384. Not leaving. What did he mean by not leaving and not playing with them? The people from the Serene Devil Hall were stunned. What I meant was to get rid of you quickly. I won't play with you anymore. Lu Ming said with a faint smile. What? Get rid of us? The people from the Serene Devil Hall were stunned at first, then they laughed maniacally. Ha ha ha, aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Get rid of us? Do you think you can? This kid is spouting nonsense to disturb our mental states. Don't talk anymore. Let's go all out and kill him. As soon as he said that, the 7 disciples from the Serene Devil Hall shone with silver light. Those were chakras, the chakras of king-class bloodlines. Among the 7 of them, 2 had level 2 king-class bloodlines, 3 had level 3 king-class bloodlines, and the strongest 2 had level 4 king-class bloodlines. As their chakras shone and their bloodlines erupted, the auras of the 7 disciples were raised to their peak. Kill! The 7 disciples from the Serene Devil Hall formed a large formation. Sword chi shone as they charged toward Lu Ming. Bloodline? I have it too. Lu Ming smiled faintly and activated his second bloodline. A tall and hazy stone tablet with 4 silver chakras flashed and disappeared. Level 4 king-class bloodline. Although it's strong, what's the use? The green-haired youth roared. Sword chi burst forth and shrouded Lu Ming. What if I add this? Lu Ming sneered. Roar! A dragon's roar was heard. The 9 dragons' bloodline rushed out and roared at the sky. The people from the Serene Devil Hall, as well as Songyu and the rest, widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. King-class bloodline? Why does he have two types of king-class bloodlines? Is he a natural king-class bloodline? Natural king-class bloodline? Impossible. The people from the Serene Devil Hall shouted in disbelief. Even the operation of the formation came to a halt. Nothing is impossible. Devour. Lu Ming yelled. Roar. The 9 dragons' bloodline roared and opened its mouth. A terrifying devouring power came out of its mouth and shrouded the 7 people from the Serene Devil Hall. What's going on? I feel that my bloodline power is unstable. My blood essence is pulsating. Everyone from the Serene Devil Palace screamed in horror. A martial arts grandmaster could unleash both bloodlines at the same time. However, for most martial artists, their first bloodline was only of the ordinary class. Above the martial ancestor realm, when they unleashed their ordinary class bloodline, the enhancement effect was extremely limited and negligible. Therefore, most people would only use their second bloodline. Very few people would use both bloodlines at the same time. But Lu Ming was different. Both of his bloodlines were at the king level, and they had different effects on him. He could use them as much as he wanted. Petty tricks. Keep calm and go kill him. The green-haired youth roared. Really? The 7 geniuses of the Yumo Palace had joined forces to set up a formation, but it had been defeated by Lu Ming with 2 palms. That was too terrifying. On the other side of the sky, the Yumo Palace disciple who had escaped last time was trembling all over. His lips were quivering and his face was drained of blood. His eyes were filled with fear. Demon monster, this is all my fault. Run, run, I have to get away from this monster. Run. He screamed in his heart and was about to use a secret technique to escape. Right at that moment, Poochie! A spear light pierced through his heart from the back. The Yumo Palace disciple roared in anger and turned his head desperately, only to see Lu Ming's cold eyes. I let you escape last time. Do you think there will be a second time? A faint voice sounded from Lu Ming's mouth. Then, the long spear shook and the spear light destroyed the Yumo Palace disciple's vitality. His corpse fell to the ground. Then Lu Ming took another step forward and walked toward the green-haired youth and the others. At that moment, the green-haired youth and the green-haired youth were unable to move. Wait a minute, don't kill us. We are disciples of the Yumo Palace. There are many geniuses in my Yumo Palace. There are more than 500 geniuses who came in this time. We are just a part of them. There are many stronger geniuses in other cities. If you kill us, the Yumo Palace disciples won't let you go. The green-haired youth shouted. Hee, as long as I kill you, how will the other Yumo Palace disciples know that I killed you? Lu Ming sneered. Of course I know. I don't mind telling you that I have already copied your figure with the shadow-breathing talisman and sent it to the strongest genius in my Yumo Palace. You won't be able to escape. The green-haired youth shouted. So it's the shadow-breathing talisman? Lu Ming's heart stirred. The shadow-breathing talisman was the same as the 10,000 miles sound-transmitting talisman. Both were refined by inscription masters. Chapter 385. Seeing that Lu Ming was silent, the green-haired youth thought that Lu Ming was afraid and was overjoyed. How about this? As long as you let us go, I'll plead with the experts of the Serene Demon Hall to spare your life. We'll pretend that nothing happened today. The green-haired youth said. Since Lu Ming was afraid, he believed that Lu Ming would accept this condition. A vicious murderous intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. He was roaring in his heart. As long as he could get out of danger this time, he would definitely let more powerful cultivators from the Serene Demon Palace pursue Lu Ming with all their might. He would let Lu Ming die without a burial ground and make Lu Ming regret offending him. Are you done? Lu Ming suddenly smiled faintly and said. What? The green-haired youth was stunned. If you're done, you can be on your way. A cold killing intent burst forth from Lu Ming's body. No, don't. The green-haired youth and the other 7th-level martial ancestor realm genius screamed in horror. They had thought that they had seen hope and that Lu Ming would let them go. However, in the next moment they had fallen from heaven to hell. Swoosh! Swoosh! Lu Ming did not bother to talk nonsense with them. Spear radiance shot out and killed the 2 of them. Then he killed the other severely injured people one by one, took their storage rings and devoured their blood essence. Brother! Brother Lu, we have to thank you for saving us this time. Song Yu flew over and stammered. Lu Ming was becoming more and more mysterious in his heart. He was becoming more and more unreachable. There's no need to thank me. I've implicated you this time. Brother Song, what do you plan to do next? This city has been exposed. I'm afraid that the experts of the Serene Demon Hall will come. Lu Ming said. We've received news that there's a small city in the north. There are experts in our area and we plan to meet them there. Song Yu said. Lu Ming nodded. This was good too. He was not a charitable person and could not spend time helping them. They had to rely on themselves. Immediately, the Song siblings as well as the sturdy young man bid farewell to Lu Ming and left for the north. Lu Ming walked into a room and sat down cross-legged to refine the blood essence he had just devoured. They were the blood essences of martial artists in the 6th and 7th level of the martial ancestor realm. They were not of much help to Lu Ming. After refining them, Lu Ming's cultivation was still at the peak of the 5th level of the martial ancestor realm. Now that I've successfully mastered the Heaven's Path Palm, my battle prowess has increased greatly. Although I haven't reached the level of a 5 battle genius, I've reached the peak of a 4 battle genius. Lu Ming concluded his combat strength. If Lu Ming unleashed his full strength and unleashed all of his bloodline, the Heaven's Path Palm combined with the power of wind and fire would allow Lu Ming's battle prowess to reach the peak of Battle 4. Earlier, he had used this move to defeat the Serene Devil Halls group in one fell swoop. However, the peak of the 4 battles genius was only a step away from the 5 battles genius. However, this step was like the difference between heaven and earth. It was extremely difficult to reach the 5 battles genius level. Even if Lu Ming mastered the 2nd step of the 9 dragon sky stomping steps, he would not be able to reach the 5 battles genius level. If I want to increase my battle prowess quickly, I can only increase my cultivation level quickly, Lu Ming pondered. The power of the Heaven's Path Palm was already extremely terrifying. Even if he mastered the 2nd step of the 9 dragon sky stomping steps, his power would not be much stronger than the Heaven's Path Palm. Unless he mastered the 3rd step, his battle prowess would increase greatly. However, he had not even mastered the 2nd step, let alone the 3rd step. In terms of power, the power of wind and fire were both at the peak of the great accomplishment realm. The power of the 2 powers when combined was extremely terrifying. Even if Lu Ming broke through to the great accomplishment realm in one of the powers, the power of the 2 powers would not increase by much, unless both powers reached the great accomplishment realm. However, this was not something that could be comprehended in a short period of time. Therefore, if Lu Ming wanted to increase his battle prowess in a short period of time, he could only increase his cultivation level. Among the geniuses in this selection, his shortcoming was his cultivation level. I need to find a place with powerful demonic beasts and hunt them to increase my cultivation level. Lu Ming made up his mind and left the small town, heading west. He headed west, looking for a place with powerful demonic beasts. Slowly night fell. Night came again. However, with Lu Ming's power of wind and fire, as long as he did not encounter anything too strange, he would not be in danger. Those spirits could not do anything to him. He rushed forward until the day came again, and the world regained its vitality. During the day, Lu Ming sped up. Soon he had covered hundreds of thousands of miles. Finally, Lu Ming stopped in the middle of a vast mountain. This mountain was full of vitality. In the depths of the mountain there were loud roars, accompanied by waves of powerful aura that soared to the sky. Lu Ming sensed more than 10 Class 8 LV4 demonic beasts aura. There were even Class 9 LV4 demonic beasts aura. Great, this is the place. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This boundless mountain seemed to have nurtured many powerful demonic beasts. Lu Ming rushed into the mountain without hesitation. Hiss! Not long after, a python that was more than 50 meters long pounced toward Lu Ming. The python emitted a Class 8 LV4 demonic beast's aura. Good timing. Lu Ming grinned and thrust his long spear. With a puff, it pierced a big hole in the python's head. The python hissed and its huge body rolled, crushing several large trees that would take several people to wrap their arms around them. After rolling a few times, it stopped breathing. Lu Ming stepped forward and devoured the blood essence of the python. At the same time, he took out the demon core and devoured it as well. The blood essence and monster core of a Class 8 LV4 demonic beast were much more effective. After a while, Lu Ming's body shook slightly and he finally broke through to the middle stage of Martial Grandmaster realm. Then he continued to hunt demonic beasts. Half a day later, Lu Ming had killed 8 Class 8 LV4 demonic beasts and a Class 9 LV4 demonic beast. His cultivation had reached the peak of the middle stage of Martial Grandmaster realm and was not far from the late stage of Martial Grandmaster realm. At this time night fell again and all the demonic beasts went into hiding. Lu Ming followed a demonic beast and hid in a cave more than 10 meters underground. But before long the spirit still found him. Lu Ming came to a conclusion. It was useless for outsiders like them to hide. The ghosts would still find them. On the other hand, the ghost would not find the demonic beasts if they hid. Lu Ming was speechless. He could only resist and wait for time to pass. When the day came, Lu Ming meditated for a while. After he recovered, he continued to hunt demonic beasts. Croak. Half an hour later, Lu Ming sprinted out of a valley and frantically fled into the distance. A loud cry came from the valley, shaking the heavens and the earth, causing countless trees to tremble. Following this, a 50-meter-tall toad that looked like a small mountain rushed out of the valley. Whoosh! The giant toad opened its mouth and a scarlet tongue pierced through the air toward Lu Ming. It was not easy for Lu Ming to meet him. How could he miss this opportunity? Brat, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. A mere martial ancestor realm level 5 cultivation dares to bargain with us. Since you don't want to leave, stay here forever. The blue-robed young man's face darkened, and he emitted a murderous aura. I'm afraid you don't have that ability. Lu Ming let out a calm smile. Boasting shamelessly. A mere 5th-layer martial ancestor realm cultivator dares to be so smug. Die. Beside the blue-robed young man, a cold young man with a cultivation of the early stage 6th-layer martial ancestor realm stepped forward and lashed out at Lu Ming. Roar! A ferocious tiger appeared and lunged at Lu Ming. This young man was a genius. With his cultivation of the early stage 6th-layer martial ancestor realm, he believed that he could easily suppress Lu Ming. However, his face turned pale in the next instant. Lu Ming gave a casual slap and the ferocious tiger that he condensed was easily dispersed. Following this, Lu Ming continued to slap him. Pa! The crisp sound of a slap rang out, and the cold-looking youth let out a miserable cry. His body was like a cannonball as he was sent flying. He crashed through 2 large trees before coming to a stop. He lay there twitching non-stop, having already fainted. The others inhaled deeply and stared at Lu Ming in astonishment. Let's attack together. The blue-robed young man let out a roar as he collected his thoughts. Following this, silver chakras appeared as their bloodlines were unleashed, resulting in 7 powerful auras. Among them, the blue-robed young man's cultivation had reached the peak of the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm. Humph! Lu Ming harumphed as his eyes glistened. A long spear appeared in his hand as he lashed out. Bang! Bang! Following 6 explosions, apart from the blue-robed young man, the other 6 were sent flying and landed heavily on the ground. Meanwhile, the blue-robed young man was knocked 100 meters backward while coughing out mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming frowned as he was not satisfied with his attack. The so-called genius of the Battle 3 or Battle 4 did not mean that he could achieve that with a casual attack. It meant that he had to unleash his full strength to execute his ultimate move. Lu Ming's Heaven's Path Palm was able to reach the peak of the Battle 4 level. However, his 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps was only slightly better than the Battle 4 level. If he only executed the power of wind and fire without the 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps or the Heaven's Path Palm, he would only be able to reach the Battle 4 level. While he was not satisfied with his attack, the blue-robed young man and the others were terrified. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment the sound of something flying could be heard. Dozens of figures flew out from the direction of the canyon. Chapter 387. 9 Dragons Stomping the Sky. Lu Ming did not want to waste time with him, and he immediately executed the 9 Dragons Stomping the Sky steps. Boom! There was a loud explosion and the burly young man's body slid back 1,000 meters. Along the way there was a deep gully. His body shook and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Sizzle. The sound of people sucking in cold air could be heard. The geniuses of Flying Tiger Mountain Range looked at Lu Ming in shock. It was unbelievable that he could injure the burly young man with just one move when he was only a martial ancestor, realm level 5 martial ancestor. The long-armed young man was shocked at first. Then a cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. I never thought that Cloud Emperor Mountain Range would have such a demonic genius like you. I'm afraid Jian Fengyun is no match for you. Alright, I'll kill you before you rise. Otherwise, you'll be a threat to Flying Tiger Mountain Range in the future. The long-armed young man said coldly. Bam! As soon as he finished speaking, he threw himself at Lu Ming like a cannonball and threw out a punch. The punch was terrifying and it was much more powerful than the burly young man's. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Lu Ming executed the 9 dragons stomping the sky steps and took a step forward. Boom! There was a loud explosion and Lu Ming's 9 dragons stomping the sky steps was blocked. At the same time, a powerful force surged and Lu Ming was pushed back. Advanced Martial Ancestor Realm Level 7 Cultivation. What a powerful force! Lu Ming's heart trembled. Roar! There was a loud roar and a majestic giant ape appeared above the long-armed young man's head. There were 5 silver chakras on the giant ape's body. Level 5 King-class bloodline Steel Raging Ape. Ape King Divine Fist. The long-armed young man roared and threw out another punch. The fist radiance was like a giant ape's fist and it flew toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face turned grave. This person was definitely a triple battle genius and he was no weaker than Jian Fengyun. Heaven Palm. Lu Ming executed his most powerful move without hesitation. The Heaven Palm print formed and collided with the Ape King Divine Fist. An earth-shattering boom rang out, and everything within a radius of tens of miles shook violently. The fist and palm collided, forming a terrifying hurricane that swept across the sky and earth. Some of the weaker youths in the Soaring Tiger Mountain Range were swept away by the hurricane and were forced to retreat. Boom! After the loud noise, a figure flew backward rapidly. It was Lu Ming. He flew several thousand meters away and stood in the air with a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. The long-armed young man was too powerful. His cultivation had reached the late 7th level of the martial arts Grandmaster realm, which was more than 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's. In addition, he was a 3-fight genius, so he was more than 5 levels higher than Lu Ming. Lu Ming had not reached the level of a 5-battle genius, so how could he be a match for him? He's still not dead? Little did he know that the long-armed young man's heart was in turmoil. Lu Ming's battle prowess shocked him until his hair stood on end. He had also been to those big areas before. However, even in a large region there was no such terrifying genius. Not to mention anything else, he had only heard of the 4th battle genius, but had never seen one. It was obvious that Lu Ming had surpassed the 4th battle genius. Die, he must die. The long-armed young man roared in his heart and yelled, I've already injured him. Let's attack together, we can't let him leave alive. Having said that, he hurriedly attacked Lu Ming. Kill! The other cultivators of the Soaring Tiger Mountain Range yelled as they attacked at the same time, resulting in a shocking scene. These young men were the strongest cultivators of the Soaring Tiger Mountain Range. It was as if all the geniuses on the monarch ranking were attacking at the same time. How terrifying was the scene! I'm too lazy to play with you. Lu Ming turned around and left with the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. In the next instant he was 10 miles away. What a joke! Lu Ming was not stupid to fight with so many people, including a long-armed young man. Since he was no match for them, why not retreat for the time being? Besides, Lu Ming already had a plan in mind. Chase! The long-armed young man yelled. But their speed was no match for Lu Ming's. In a few moments, Lu Ming was nowhere to be seen. Damn it! The long-armed young man cursed. Let's go back. We must get the level 5 spiritual herbs in the valley. The long-armed young man yelled. Then, the group of cultivators of the Soaring Tiger Mountain Range returned to the valley to clear out the beasts inside. Lu Ming covered 10 miles in one step. He was very fast. Soon he arrived outside a valley. There was a giant toad that was half a step away from the Beast King realm in the valley. That's right. Lu Ming came here to borrow the toad's strength. He wanted to use the toad's strength to disrupt the battle and seize the opportunity to snatch the spiritual herbs in the valley. Based on the medicinal fragrance that the spirit medicine gave off, Lu Ming speculated that it was very likely a level 5 spirit medicine. A level 4 spiritual herb definitely did not have such a fragrance. A level 5 spiritual herb. Lu Ming was excited at the thought of it. A level 5 spiritual herb was a rare treasure that even a beast king would want. If he had a level 5 spiritual herb, Lu Ming could cultivate the myriad spirit battle body and push his physical body to level 6. After pondering for a while, Lu Ming rushed into the valley. Croak. After a while, an earth-shattering cry was heard, and the grass and trees shook. The long-armed young man's eyes turned red and he roared in a frenzy as he pounced on Lu Ming. Heaven's palm. Lu Ming struck out with his palm. This time, Lu Ming unleashed his strongest combat strength. Great Ape King's divine fist. The long-armed young man punched out. Boom! There was a terrifying vibration and the heaven's palm was pierced through. However, the long-armed young man's body was stopped for a moment. Whoosh! Lu Ming was sent flying by the force of the fist and he happened to pass by the red cinnabar fruit. With a wave of his hand, Lu Ming kept the 9 red cinnabar fruits in the Temple of Paragon. Bam! Lu Ming's body slammed into the wall of the valley. His face turned pale and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Hand over the spirit herbs and the red cinnabar fruits. The long-armed young man roared. Idiot! Lu Ming sneered and stepped into the sky. In an instant he appeared in the sky. Then he took another step and flew 10 miles away. Bastard! Bastard! Stop right there! The long-armed young man shouted hysterically. This was originally his opportunity. If he could use the red cinnabar fruit to increase his cultivation, he could use it as a foundation to fight for more resources. But now it was all taken away by Lu Ming. Lu Ming ignored him and executed the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the horizon without a trace. Damn it! Damn it! When I get out of the Dongming ancient battlefield, I'll lead a group of experts to the Cloud Emperor mountain range to find you and your family. I'll kill them all. The long-armed young man's eyes flashed with hatred. Then he gritted his teeth and pounced to save the other geniuses in the soaring Tiger Mountain range. Lu Ming was as fast as lightning. Soon he arrived at a quiet place 10,000 miles away. With a thought, he appeared in the Temple of Paragon. Now let's start cultivating the myriad spirit battle body. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He picked up the 10,000-year blood ginseng and started cultivating the myriad spirit battle body. Soon the 10,000-year blood ginseng turned into wisps of myriad spirit chi and entered Lu Ming's body. Chapter 389. The effects of the level 5 superior grade elixir were too strong and rich. It constantly transformed into the aura of all spirits, nourishing Lu Ming's physical body. Lu Ming's physical body was glowing, sparkling, and dazzling. His chi and blood were full of vitality. A day later, the 10,000-year blood ginseng was completely refined. At this moment, Lu Ming's body trembled and his bones emitted crisp sounds. His muscles were as taut as steel wires, making buzzing sounds. His body was breaking through the bottleneck. After half a day, the strange phenomenon disappeared and Lu Ming opened his eyes. Rank 6 lower tier physical body. Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly and he was delighted. After refining the upper LV5 spiritual medicine, Lu Ming's body had finally broken through. 6th grade physical body. Even some martial king realm warriors had to specially cultivate their physical bodies in order to achieve such a level. What incredible power! Given his current fleshly body, combined with his zhenqi, how strong would he be? With a thought, Lu Ming appeared outside the Temple of Paragon. It was already dusk of the second day. I was safe last night. I was so stupid. I couldn't enter the Temple of Paragon because it was in danger. As long as I could enter the Temple of Paragon before night fell, I wouldn't have to dodge the attacks of the spirits. Lu Ming was stunned. He scolded himself for being stupid. Why did he have to fight with the spirits every night when he had the Temple of Paragon? Let's test my strength first. The demon-suppressing spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He shook the spear and struck the ground. Boom! There was a loud boom and the ground shook violently. The ground cracked and debris flew. A spear-shaped trench appeared on the ground and extended forward. It extended for more than 200 meters before it stopped. A 10-meter deep and 200-meter-long trench appeared on the ground. The power of a casual attack has increased a lot. Lu Ming was delighted. The attack just now was purely a combination of genuine qi and physical strength. He didn't use any martial skills or the power of wind and fire. Try something else. Next, Lu Ming added the power of wind and fire and started experimenting. After that, he continued to experiment with the 9 dragons ascending heaven steps and the heavenly path palm. It seems like my strongest battle prowess hasn't improved by much. I can't reach the level of a Battle 5 genius. After a round of experiments, Lu Ming came to a conclusion. When using the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps, the impact on his physical body was quite significant. The breakthrough of his physical body had greatly increased the power of the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps, but it still did not surpass the heavenly law palm, only close to the power of the heavenly law palm. On the other hand, the might of the heaven's path palm did not increase by much. Chapter 390. This was considered a big city in the Dongming ancient battlefield. Lu Ming noticed many figures in the air. With a slight movement, Zhang Xian landed in the city. He sensed that there were powerful auras surging in some of the buildings in the city. It was obvious that many young geniuses were cultivating in seclusion. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and then walked toward the place with the most auras. Soon Lu Ming arrived at the center of the city. There were many people gathered there. Ancient remnant weapon. Ancient remnant weapon. I obtained it in a secret place. It still contains a trace of spirituality. I want to exchange it for a piece of meteoric metal. An ancient pill recipe from the Dongming ancient battlefield. It must be a top-quality item. I only want an Earth-class superior martial technique. Take it. Shay. Lu Ming heard shouts as soon as he arrived. It was as if he had arrived at a market in the outside world. Lu Ming was stunned for a moment. He then pulled a young girl to the side and asked about it. The young girl was kind enough to give a rough explanation. Lu Ming was enlightened. This was equivalent to a small market. The first 3 months of the Ditian Divine Guard selection were for people to gain experience, find opportunities, and raise their cultivation. During this period, everyone might gain something and obtain some treasures. However, they might not be able to use them. Therefore, in some large cities, many geniuses would gather together and take out treasures that they didn't need to exchange for treasures that others needed. Therefore, there was a small market in front of him. Lu Ming's interest was piqued. He wandered around the place to see if he could find what he needed. There were about 500 to 600 people here. They were shouting non-stop. Moreover, the items they took out were also strange. It was an eye-opener for Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming did not see anything that interested him. Beast, it's you. Suddenly, a furious roar rang out. In the next moment, Lu Ming felt a cold aura shrouding him. Lu Ming quickly turned around and saw a few young men striding toward him. Lu Ming could not help but laugh. Wasn't this the long-armed young man from the Flying Tiger Mountain range? They were really enemies on the road. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes turn red. At this moment, the long-armed young man's eyes were filled with hatred. He glared at Lu Ming and said, "Little bastard, I did not expect to meet you here. This time I will not let you escape. Also, where are the spiritual herbs? Hurry up and hand them over. Otherwise you'll die a horrible death." The long-armed young man said sinisterly, "Are you stupid? So many days have passed and you still have spirit herbs? It's already in my stomach and turned into shit. Do you want it? If you really want it, I still vaguely remember where it is. I can take you there. I just didn't expect your taste to be so heavy."